there's certain moments when a Dr. Pepper really does it for you. It's like you just want some joy, something that tastes good. But the whole Michelob Ultra thing was very funny to me.
I think that one of the most important things for me was always leading with her heart, because you can get away with anything if you have the best intentions.
Oil companies don't.
Wild West.
You bet your ass.
I've been telling everybody this is easily the best show that Taylor Sheridan has created since the first season of Yellowstone, and
Wow.
You are so awesome in this show.
Thank you.
And I have to say, I passed judgment initially based on the FaceTime calls that, oh no, this is going to be that ex-wife character that everybody hates, and that she's just going to be the character that you love to hate. But
Yeah.
the moment you get off that plane, this is a real person. This is a human being. She's not a bad person, but she's so well-rounded. How did it feel kind of playing Angela?
I think that one of the most important things for me was always leading with her heart, because you can get away with anything if you have the best intentions. And so for me, it was finding that within her. And she really does have this deep love for her family. And, she loves to have a good time, and sometimes she spends too much money, but, also you see like the effort she puts in even to cooking dinner, and how she matches her outfit to it. And she puts this pressure on herself as she's trying to rebuild her world. So you not only see her like looking fabulous and, she's very provocative and being wild, you see her, when she's really vulnerable and falling apart. And then you see also, how, Tommy and Angela come together, and there's just so much more going on. And that was really, for me, the goal as an actor was to take what was on the page and make sure that you felt her heartbeat at all times.
Where did you find her accent? Was that based on a person, or did you just say, I know how to do Texas?
Everything was very specific on the show. So nothing was random, and nothing was like, oh, let's try this. I worked with Jessica Drake twice a week for 6 months. So it was a constant thing with the WHs and putting the breath in there and all, and like, you know what I'm saying? The way that you really say things. So, and with my acting coach too, I just, I really believe in the team that I get to work with, and I care about the work. And when you're delivering at this level and you're working with the best of the best, you got to bring it. And I was really excited to get the opportunity to spar with them.
And after Yellowstone and all these other Taylor Sheridan shows that are really heavy and dark, there's a lot of humor. There's a lot of lightness that comes into this story. What was it like filming with Billy Bob Thornton, and like in those sequences? Was it as fun on screen as it was off screen?
I mean, it was a dream. He's so great at everything he does, and he's completely there for you as an actor, and he's unbelievably present. And it's like people can get bad habits in our industry, or that there can be egos, there can be so much BS involved, and to be able to work next to him was an absolute dream. And there's scenes where, he wakes up and, it can take him 3 minutes to wake up. He's not rushing it. He does whatever he wants. And that's what makes him so immensely watchable, is his complete confidence in his work as an actor when he drops into these roles. And that's just super inspiring to get to act against and to be around. And he still loves the art of storytelling, and to be able to have that, we still get to do this. And that's something that I think he still feels.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. The show is fantastic.
Thank
and
you.
absolutely ranks as one of your best performances. You're great.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that. Thank you.
First comes the dreamers, then the bankers, and then the desperate.
What does that make you?
A divorced alcoholic with $500,000 in debt, and I'm one of the lucky ones.
This show is so good, and I'm a huge fan of Taylor Sheridan's work. Mm-hmm. This is by far his best series since the first season of Yellowstone, and so much of that is owed to you playing this character I couldn't tell if you were going to play this guy completely serious or if it was going to be funny, but there's so much humor in such a serious show. How much fun did you have, like, playing this character?
I loved it. I loved it from the first time Taylor explained the story and the world to me, and also told me that essentially he wrote it with me for me in my voice. And when I started reading it, I kind of went, "Oh yeah, I guess you did, didn't you?" And it just seemed to fit like a glove for me. And I'm glad you pointed that out about the humor, because oftentimes in a drama, they just remain earnest about everything, and after a while that gets kind of boring, you know what I mean? You got to have some relief in a show, and also it's real life. I mean, real life has drama and humor and everything else, it's all the human emotions. So I really enjoyed the humor in this, and I'm glad you did.
And I noticed that in all of his other shows, there's like a crime element, there's murder, there's death, and there's obviously high stakes in this series. But
Sure.
I kept waiting at first that this is going to turn into another, they got to hide the bodies, they got to hide the truth. But it's not. Like you said, this is about real people in a very high intensity, high stakes world. How much kind of background investigation did you do into what this world was like before taking on the role?
Well, I knew, quite a bit about the oil business, and I'd had some friends who had actually worked in it. But I think the only real research I did was through talking with Taylor and Christian Wallace. Like if there was something I didn't know, a technical term in the oil business that I didn't know what it meant, I wanted it explained fully. That way, when I'm talking to people, I'm not just some actor spouting out lines that I've memorized, because that's, audiences are pretty smart. They feel that, and but if you know exactly what you're telling somebody, what it means, then that gives you the honest performance. And so that's mainly what I did. They were around all the time, and so I was able to say, you know what, I love this scene, but what does that mean? What is an X14 gauge, whatever it is, and they'd tell me what it is.
Right.
I go, oh, okay, now I know.
So is there a certain process for Tommy to determine when it's going to be a Michelob Ultra versus a Dr. Pepper?
Yeah, I guess whichever one's handy for Tommy usually, but I think there's certain moments when a Dr. Pepper really does it for you.
Yeah.
It's like you just want some joy, something that tastes good. But it's the whole Michelob Ultra thing was very funny to me, and my bantering with the bartender about it, and
That was so good.
and
That was just hilarious.
explaining how you don't understand. This is not an alcoholic drink, and he's saying, "Well, I'm afraid it is."
Yeah. Well, it's hilarious. Phenomenal show. Loved it. You're fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I got to start by telling you, as I've told everybody so far, this is Taylor Sheridan's best series since the first season of Yellowstone. And I mean this with sincerity. The two of you are a big part of that.
Oh.
And I wanted to start, Kayla, and I put this in my review, so when it comes out, you can see it in writing. Kelly Riley's character on Yellowstone has always been this character that I could not see anybody going toe-to-toe with. But Rebecca seems like the first one that is a badass enough that I think could hold her own in a courtroom, in a fight. Where did you find the energy or the interior for this character?
That is, first of all, such a compliment. I would love for the opportunity.
I would love to see them go ahead.
Beth is such a well-rounded, strong, unhinged character, which was... I definitely took note of that in preparation, but with Rebecca, I really had to dive into finding almost her survival in this world, because if she doesn't give it all, she will get eaten, because it's a dog-eat-dog world, the world of the American law system, and she had to be as strong as she is because she's gonna win. That she's like eye on the prize, very feisty.
she's a great character, and Ariana is equally like such a strong character that at first, just the scene sitting on the couch, and there's so much empathy I felt for the character, but then every scene that you're in, she doesn't trust herself enough, but she is a strong character, and it's such a realistic portrait of a person. It felt exhausting, it seems, to play such a range of emotion. How did you feel playing Ariana?
Oh my goodness. It's an honor being able to play a role like Ariana. I mean, I drew strength from my community and the women in my life, and she is a representation of that, of having to go on and be resilient, and you have a baby to take care of, and you're gonna do it, and you're gonna do whatever you need to do to make sure you have the family fed. And so it was very interesting. We tried to keep it lighthearted in between takes, but yeah, it was a fun journey, and I was just very lucky enough to be able to have those conversations with Taylor. He was very collaborative, and every time I had a question, he was always there to answer it, and I felt very supported with the whole team. And so we were able to create something very beautiful, like a character like Ariana.
And Kayla, back for your character, you spend so much of your screen time with Billy Bob Thornton. What is he like as a scene partner? I mean, he's hilarious in this series, but what was it like filming with him?
He is so awesome. He's so kind and down to earth. He really, he makes sure he says hi to everyone. Our sets there's so many people there,
yes.
And he really takes the time and sets such a nice tone for the rest of the group to be kind to one another, and he's just so wonderful and incredibly funny too.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you two are phenomenal in the show. Big part of why I loved it so much. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Seen all of Taylor Sheridan's shows so far, and this is by far the best since the first season of Yellowstone. It's a phenomenal show. So good. And James, wanted to start with you.
Yes, sir.
Does Taylor intentionally try to make things more difficult for your characters series after series?
Absolutely. Every time he calls me up with a part, he says, "Now this is going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge." I say, "I'm ready for it, sir." Yeah. And he certainly delivers that. He certainly sets things up for me and raises the bar every time. But that's what you want to do when you work for a great storyteller like Taylor. You want to be challenged. You want to be pushed. Because then you're able to unlock things inside yourself you haven't done before. So Landman's probably been the toughest for me, certainly.
And Mark, this character is soft-spoken to say, like he holds his own, but his temperature stays pretty even-keeled. How do you kind of find when you're dealing with these sequences with characters that are all levels of anxiety and energy, and you're got to keep it even-keeled? How do you find that for this role?
Well, I'm just I sort of rely on people I've known, and most of the guys that I know are good lawmen, are good leaders, and I come from a lot of veterans day to day. So, I mean, my family full of veterans, and they stay pretty cool and under fire, and somebody's got to, or we'll all be scattered, So I try to lean on that knowledge of those men that I've known. Law enforcement officers and stuff, but also I think in real life, if you're faced with some of these explosive, traumatic happenings, your first response is not going to be over the top. It's going to be really no shit.
Yeah.
Let me absorb that a little bit, and I just try to play it like I would if it was happening to me, and the people around me. So, I mean, I hope it's working.
It definitely is. And Jacob, I want to ask you, this character, I did not know if this character was going to make it out of the first episode, because it is just, like James, you got everything getting thrown at you in this character. And not to give any spoilers away, where this episode left off, the last one I saw, I don't know what's going to happen next, like how you're going to survive that. But for you playing this character, is there something like you had to find deep in this character to make him somebody that's not going to back down, is just going to keep coming back no matter what's put in his way?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's just, honestly, that's the mentality of that place of working. And I think that's the first step whenever you figure out that that's what you have to do. And sometimes it might be life or death, you know. It's an understanding that he's growing to very fast. And he had no idea what he was getting into on day one. So it's going to be a learning experience for Cooper, for sure.
And James, I just wanted to come back and ask you again, compared to the other series, what do you think sets Landman apart? Because you've been a part of so many of these Taylor Sheridan projects, and there's criminals, there's murder, there's all of these different elements. Landman is different in that sense, but what do you think sets it apart?
Oh gosh, I think, I don't know, fellas, what do you think? The humor. I think this is probably the funniest thing Taylor's written. A lot of folks,
is very funny.
I think a lot of folks out there are like, well, you got some comedy in you there, Mr. Sheridan, let's see, you know. And he said, I sure do. And there's a lot of really funny moments, really great scenes, really wonderful moments to take pause and catch your breath as an audience member and have a few laughs. And I think that's going to really surprise folks and want them coming back for more.
I agree 100%. Very funny. The three of you are fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks.